What do people in the events industry miss that they would be wise to pay attention to?
The idea of growth from the government. Maybe that's not a conversation for now, but I think that is what's missed more than anything, that we have such talented people and entrepreneurs that are willing to put everything on the line, to put their house on the line, to encourage growth and employ people. And the opportunity missed here is that, the powers that be, the government make it so difficult to employ someone, so expensive in taxes to employ someone. Is like 30% on top of someone's salary in taxes just to employ that. So I would employ as many people as I can. And I'm willing to sacrifice my own salary to grow the business and employ others. But I think the opportunity missed is for growth here, that companies want to grow. And actually, they're now cutting back because I call them turnover taxes. I think any company worldwide should be taxed on profit. But unfortunately, here we're taxed on turnover before we've even made a profit. I think a lot of
Mm.
people are packing it in. It's easier to stay under the VAT threshold than really grow the business, because as soon as you go over these different thresholds, um, you've really got to get way past it from a medium to large business to make it worthwhile to grow.
So, what has been like the journey of your brand?
So when we first started, I was actually in a very specific market, which was Arab and Jewish events, weddings, bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs for our Jewish clientele, um, and often birthdays of a 2-year-old birthday or a 5-year-old party where they're spending £100,000 on a party. So really quite outrageous events. And we really brought silent disco into that with weddings, because the kids get bored. When everyone's eating for an hour and a half at a wedding, the kids are bored. They eat in 5 minutes, then they're running around causing havoc in the venue. So when we first brought silent disco, it was for that purpose, that we could entertain guests that had finished eating, um, while others ate in the room. So they could eat in peace and quiet, have a conversation, and we can do a silent disco on the dance floor.
This was like, what, 11, 12 years ago. Was silent disco a thing at that point? Was it like, where had it been used? What had been used for up to that point?
So I saw it in the US at the time. I was at a festival and I saw silent disco being used, but they were very sort of basic headphones, quite plasticky Chinese, and again, my market was premium. So I was standing there and I had sort of this light bulb moment. I need to develop this. It wasn't in the UK, um, not with that same quality. And then we went out to try, and I got lots of samples. I came from sound engineering,
You were a DJ before, you were around music. Okay, sure.
but I had a very keen, like, sound technology was really important. So we basically developed a premium headphone that, one, we can charge a premium price for, um, that we could use at these premium, extravagant events. I knew the investment, I saved up, and I bought them, but still, I was like, "This has to work." I had all these events booked in. I said, "This is what we're doing," to the ones that, we could do after the import date. And I basically filled up the diary. And within 3 months of the equipment being here and being used, it was the snowball effect, where at one party you got another 3.
And so there's other attendees who are going to throw their own party. Oh, I was at this wedding or this bar mitzvah, and that was great. We should bring that over here and do it here. And so you're just going to get referrals from events.
So we started with 200 headphones, just 200 we ordered from the start. And within about 6 months, we were up to about 2,500 headphones. We just reordered. Um, and I was just like, you've just got to invest in this, because we've proven the market in a very short space of time. There is a demand for it. And as we skip through, obviously, through the journey of adding to the stock, innovating the product, we now stand today in excess of 25,000 headphones in stock, um, innovating. But those events that we started with are less than 2% of what we do now.
Meaning, what is the other 98% now?
So the majority, the model that I love so much in terms of scale is the dry hire model. And that's all of our subsequent brands from Silent Disco are based on this model that it can go in a box. We can ship it to the customer via a courier. It's super easy. They can set it up themselves. They can do it themselves. And then we ship it back by a courier. So it's basically a do it yourself package in a box that's very simple. That's the majority of what we do. And then we do a lot of corporate events. And I think you're seeing this more and more at trade shows and exhibitions, that if there's different breakout rooms, if there's a seminar, and there's lots of sound in the room because it's an exhibition hall, the use of headphones is almost the solution industry standard now. So that's a very, very big part of what we do as well.
How has that changed and impacted the brand from, more of like, I've got a solution for you. Hey, you've got a noisy trade show. Let's do something fun with headphones and silent disco, to lots of other players, local players, you're competing all over. How has that changed the nature of sort of your value proposition? Has there been price pressure to come down in price? Have you tried to do other things to try to keep the premium price? How has that affected the business?
So on your last point, we keep the premium aspect. Look, there's lots of competition now, more than ever before. And I tell the team, we tell the team every week, if we're not innovating, we will evaporate. If you don't innovate, you'll evaporate, and that's a real ethos of the business. So just about 18 months ago, we developed a new headphone that was even more premium. It had better features. You got to innovate, but at the same time, we won't. We rarely price match, because otherwise you're getting into a price war, and all of a sudden the price will be driven down. I think a lot of our competitors, if I'm honest, follow our pricing and may just come just under. But I think many customers, if it's 10, £20 or $20 more, they're going to go with the recognized brand. We have the biggest following for the UK online, the most reviews online for our service. And I think we try and market in a way that our team is always available. And this is so important, that the amount of customers that call us and say, I've been, calling this company for 3 days, no one's gone back to me. There's always someone here within our business hours. And then we have an out of hours technical support, no robots, no virtual receptionists abroad. They are real people that can help the customer. So if it's a technical issue at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I had that on New Year's Eve, I saw that call was answered by our team. And I think that's really important, that the level of support they're going to get throughout the whole process, in my opinion, is unmatched anywhere else.
Do you plan to take this, or is this the type of market that will be more fragmented and more country based, more local based, or could there be a global leader in silent disco?
It's local based, I would say. I speak to 2 or 3 big players in the US, and I'm friends with them. We share ideas, what works over there, what works here, and I think that's really key. We we do some work in Europe. We've done a lot in Amsterdam, in the Netherlands, where we will drive over with a lot of kit. We do big exhibitions there. Same in Paris. We've done various events throughout Europe, but we opened specifically in Dubai in October 2023. So it was a market that, again, I'd come from doing a lot of Arab events, a lot of Jewish events, and the amount of friends I have moving to Dubai now is quite remarkable. And I just thought it was a great market to expand into, and no one was doing it there. There was one company, they only had a couple of hundred headphones. So we put obviously a decent amount of headphones that we can do those larger, um, more premium events. So Dubai is going well. It's very, very different to here. Here, as I said, we can send out 200 hires a week. In Dubai, we might do one a week, but the value of them is 5, 6 times the amount that it would be in the UK. So they're much more profitable. The expenses are a lot less. The tax is madly different to the UK, because the UK is just the worst place for being taxed at the moment. Um, So Dubai, but we have no intentions of opening up more offices elsewhere, if I'm honest. We've got our market, we've developed new products as well. So we don't just do silent disco, we do the karaoke hire company. All of our brands do what they say on the tin. The screen hire company, so we do a lot of large screens at sports events and drive-in cinemas, which sort of saved us through COVID in a way, that side of the business. Um, so we do a lot of different brands, but we want to be the UK's best well-known brand for silent disco and our subsequent brands. But also, if people are in the US, and as I said, I was speaking to uh, a company just at the beginning of the week. We've got a call next week. He runs a silent disco, and he knows. He emailed me, and so we want to be the market leader, and I think by some of these entrepreneurs and silent disco company owners who are contacting me direct in the UK, they're coming to me to have a conversation and share ideas. We're two different ends of the world. We might be in the same industry, but they're not competitors. We can share ideas certainly. And one of the companies from the US actually had a couple of clients in the UK, uh, and they gave us the work and said, would you mind taking this on? They've contacted us. They're from the US, but they're now in the UK. Can you help them? And you know, I think that's really, really nice in terms of partnerships with, um, companies that are the other side of the world.
What was your toughest day, toughest moment, biggest challenge you had to overcome in this journey of the company?
I think, and I hate going back to the pandemic, I really do, because I think we should put that in our distant memory. But I do remember that day just so clearly. And that was the day that we were told to lock down, stay at home, um, or, or like a day before, a few hours. And I remember just one, I didn't know what to do because it's the unknown. And I remember just every call changing from an inquiry, and the phones are ringing all day with inquiries and our customers, and it's a very buzzy culture in our office, to just every call being a cancellation or a postponement. And it was just sort of like stab in the chest every call coming in was postponed, cancel, postpone, cancel. And my heart sunk. I also thought about, right, if this is happening, what about our team who, we spend more time with our team than we do with our loved ones at home. Um, and I thought about them, their future, their family. How do I tell them? And that day was really, really tough on mental health, um, because there's no rule book. There's no one to ask, what do I do? Really, it was just, you got to deal with this.
What got you through it?
Entrepreneurial spirit. We pivoted. There was stuff, my ideas um, went into overdrive. So I knew it wasn't going to be forever, but the question was, how long was it going to last? And that sort of light, light at the end of the tunnel was so important. So I knew that there was going to be a period of time where it was going to be quiet. But obviously, we do a lot of drive-in cinemas, and I thought, right, that's the first thing that we're going to be able to do, because if we can't meet, we can do drive-in cinemas, and we were doing them already. So we did a lot of drive-in cinemas. I did some I did about 3 or 4 different businesses in COVID. Some worked, some didn't work.
Okay, so the main thing is like try to keep the lights on any way you can, sort of just come up with ways to stay afloat and survive, and then you
I mean, keeping the cash coming keeps the business going. Even now, keep the cash flowing, uh, and that's how you can do things. Sales before operations, always. Some people want the nice big office, big warehouse, lots of staff before they've taken any money, where I'm very much like sales first, then we'll have the money to deal with the operations and logistics after. If we need another 10 staff, we can do that because we've got the money to do it. So, but at the time, yeah, it was very much, cash needed to be coming in to keep afloat. Obviously, the staff, there was different schemes where they were at home, but th- the electricity still had to be paid. There's expenses that still had to be paid, even if I took the majority of the wages out. So, that was important. We had some commercial property that we could rely on and borrow from. But generally, it was pivoting, and as I said, I started about three different businesses in COVID.
Now it's a different challenge because there's, as we've talked about, more competition. How do you sort of defend the business from competitors, especially when I imagine it's silent disco has developed to the point where one can, I don't know, go on Amazon and buy a limited set and do some things that's like these kind of products become commoditized. And as it becomes a commodity, how do you sort of defend the business, and continue to be the market leader?
I think it has to be a multi-prong approach to that. Um, and I say that because I think brand is so important, that we're the market leader doing podcasts, speaking to people, the content marketing. If someone searches our brand or my name, they see all the podcasts I do, how passionate we are. Our YouTube channel shows all the behind the scenes, as well as our marketing, as well as the reviews. It's a multi-pronged approach that when someone searches for silent disco, they are seeing this package of these are the best people for the job. They don't let people down. And that is the key to staying above competition.
What has been the best advice you've received as an entrepreneur, as a business person, as a marketer? Does anything stand out?
So many things as an entrepreneur, because I speak to entrepreneurs. That's probably the first thing as an entrepreneur or business owner, is speak to other entrepreneurs and business owners. See what they did wrong. Because if they go, don't do it this way, it cost me this much, why make that mistake when they will tell you what mistake they made and how you can avoid it? So, probably the number one is to speak to as many of our entrepreneurs or business owners as possible. They've been there, done it, got the metaphorical t shirt, which will help you. And the other thing someone told me, which I didn't do for so many years, is to get a PA,
Personal assistant. Okay, sure.
because I like doing things myself. And I never did it. And then I got a PA, and it literally just gave me so much time back that I could invest back into the business than doing the mundane tasks.
What were you spending your time on? Like, was this like booking travel kind of stuff, or running errands for, I don't know, ordering? I don't know if anyone orders paper clips anymore, but you get the idea. Like the ordering the paper clips, you were pressing the button, or what gave you the time back?
As an entrepreneur early on, you are doing everything. You are driving every bus there is. You're jumping from bus to bus and driving them. Now, and again, another piece of advice another entrepreneur gave me is that you should be spending 80% of your time marketing the business and working on the business, um, than operating it. So 80% working on the business, 20% operating day to day. And I think every business owner spends 80% of their time on operations. They're ordering the paper clips, they're booking in orders, they're on the phones doing sales, etc. They're doing everything. And that piece of advice that I got is you want to be spending 80% of your time on the business, and that's finding new leads, uh, for our sales team to deal with, growing the business financially, innovating, and delegating to our team the tasks. And I think that all comes down to the management that you have. So our operations manager, our warehouse manager, marketing manager, we work really closely together along with my personal assistant to delegate, and you get so much more done in terms of productivity than one person trying to do it all. And don't get me wrong, I still work 60, 80 hours, hour weeks even now. If we're working on a project, I get stuck in, and we're doing a lot of content at the moment. But I think it's really important to have a really good management team, and a PA makes such a difference. It really does.
And what is the Does anything stand out as the worst advice you ever got?
Ask your accountant for advice.
Okay.
And I say that is, a lot of entrepreneurs or business will go to an accountant and say, should I do this? Should I do that? Etc. But they're an accountant. They're not an entrepreneur. Ask them the best way to be tax efficient. But people often ask their accountants like business advice, and they're not entrepreneurs. And I think that's like the worst advice you can give. Like, ask your accountant what they think you should do. Um, and I think a PA really helps that for me because she does a lot of the numbers, and the accountant will, you know, tidy up those numbers ready to be filed at the end of the year. So I always say, like, and that loops back to my first thing, speak to entrepreneurs. If you've got a problem, you've got an idea, you want some advice, go and ask another entrepreneur. But so many times it's like you ask your accountant for advice for your business, not financially. Um, and they're not entrepreneurs, they're not business owners, they're accountants. Um, may sound funny, but the same with the PA. The first person I actually employed was a bookkeeper. And someone told me that the first person you should employ as a bookkeeper, they should give you management accounts every month. And at the start, they came in once a month. Then it was once every 2 weeks, once a week, and now they're a lot more permanent. But having a bookkeeper in-house that can tell you numbers, run reports, that is the best way to grow your business because you always have an eye on the numbers. You're on top of the numbers. You know what you're spending too much on. Where an accountant tells you that at the end of the year when you run your accounts, where a bookkeeper in-house is going to tell you that information every week, every day.
Thank you so much. Toby Burns, CEO, The Silent Disco Company. It's been an really admirable growth story up to this point. We look forward to seeing what's next, and we look forward to seeing those headphones on just like this at more events, fun colors, and I guess innovative features since you're still innovating. And it's been interesting to see the growth of the industry and your brand. So thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.